2020 was a year that defined our generation. Newcastle hospitals treated the first case of COVID in the UK. As the pandemic came, we stood on the front line together, looking after each other. We were clapped by our community. Unfortunately, Black, Asian and minority ethnic BAME staff were disproportionately affected by COVID. BAME staff make out of 20% of all NHS nurses and 44% of doctors. In the first 2 months of the pandemic, of all the NHS nurses who died, nearly 2/3 were BAME, and nearly all the doctors who died were BAME. Although we stood together against the virus, many BAME staff were treated badly in the NHS. Getting a job and getting promotions more difficult. Survey of the survey have shown as a group there's increased bullying and harassment by colleagues and managers. Every day, many BAME colleagues experience casual racism, otherwise known as microaggression. Other marginalised groups also face microaggression. LGBT colleagues by homophobic comments, or people with disabilities belittled. Here are some examples of what BAME colleagues have told us.
Hello there, my name is Colin. Today we're talking about microaggressions in the workplace, particularly racial microaggressions. Today I'll be sharing with you a story of one of our Afro-Caribbean doctors, a trainee surgeon to be specific, and their experience of microaggression in theatre. Now this is obviously for reflection as well as educational purposes. Whilst in theatre, there was a conversation going on, generally around families and family orientation. What became of the conversation was that generally that there isn't a strong family orientation within Afro-Caribbean families, and fathers tend to not be around during the upbringing of their children. There was a consultant present in the theatre itself, and obviously this wasn't a very comfortable situation for the trainee surgeon. Now, the consultant then proceeded to ask our trainee surgeon whether or not their father had been there in their life. Now, obviously the trainee surgeon felt a bit uncomfortable in the situation, perhaps a bit embarrassed as well, and they didn't know exactly what to say or react. They then obviously proceeded to inform the consultant as well as their colleagues that, of course, their parents were married and their father had in fact been there in their lives. Now, whilst this is a small moment and what might seem like normal conversation, it in fact did have a negative impact on our trainee, as obviously this stayed with them for quite a while. And it just goes to show that sometimes it's important that we think about what we say and how we say it, particularly in a group setting. And it's just something for us to think about.
She is aggressive, whilst her Caucasian colleagues are passionate.
I'm vocal.
You're shouting.
In the early days of the pandemic, I was angry one day because for the umpteenth time that week, the PPE guidance had changed, yet again. I was having a rant about this when my consultant colleague, without so much as lifting her head from her computer screen, said to me, "Careful, you're sounding like an angry Caribbean woman." I didn't know what to say in answer. In fact, I guess I was stunned into silence. I was very hurt. I still am hurt. Any of my white colleagues would just be angry or having a rant or being passionate or just being Dr. Joe Blogs. Weaponizing my ethnicity into a derogatory term was not only racist, but uniquely upsetting because I cannot help but sound like who I am. A Caribbean woman who happened to be angry at that time.
That is not my name. Yet again, you keep mistaking me for the other brown woman who works in in the ward who looks or sounds nothing like me.
Your hair is so short, yet you manage to do so much with it. Can I touch your hair?
Yes, I'm Indian, but not every Indian female in the hospital is a doctor. I am a nurse and I'm proud to be an Indian nurse.
Microaggression can be categorized into three groups. Microassaults. This is the more blatant racist comments or actions, such as excluding BAME colleagues from conversations. Sometimes the perpetrators don't actually mean to be offensive. They were only joking, but words can hurt. Micro-insults are unintentional, thoughtless comments and actions that belittles others and makes them feel different and that they don't belong. Where are you from? No, where are you really from? Thirdly, micro-invalidations are comments that undermine the struggles many BAME colleagues face every day against inequality. Just because you feel you're colorblind doesn't mean the workplace is a level playing field. What can we all do to help? It's probably best summed up by a quote from Carolyn Helsel, who's a white Christian minister from Texas, who's written very practical books about how to talk about race.
Talking about microaggressions is important because words matter. If our words are destructive, even unknowingly, we need to be able to change and to learn how to speak new words that can build people up and help them feel strong, included, and embraced. Our words have huge consequences, literally, in the life and death of our fellow human beings.